The floor was wet, and I remember kneeling there, hands stinging from the bleach, wondering if anybody even saw me and, for the first time in a while, I kinda hoped they didn't. "You done yet?" Some guy barked behind me. I didn't bother looking up, just kept scrubbing. Another voice gold, clip snapped, "Lunch is over when that toilet shines." I gave a little nod, didn't make a sound. My wrist ached, knees scraping against the tile, mop handle rough as sandpaper, but I stayed there, invisible, and I'll tell you something, that's exactly what I wanted. See, my name's Jackson Harper, and I wasn't just mopping floors. I was the CEO, the guy whose name was on the company letterhead. But for these 3 days, nobody knew that, and I was there to find out why people kept saying this store felt wrong. Cold service, angry customers, good workers leaving without warning. I needed to see it for myself. No chauffeur, no name tag, just an old uniform and a fake name. I wanted to know how it really felt to be on the bottom rung, and let me tell you, I found out faster than I thought. The first thing that hit me? Nobody cared. People walked by me like I was furniture. The kid at the counter was scrolling his phone. A woman's stocking shelf shot me a glance, then turned away. The air felt colder than the AC could ever make it. Then a guy in a wrinkled polo jake, the manager, shoved a mop in my hand. Toilets backed up. Start there. No welcome, no instructions, just orders. I was about to walk off when an older woman stopped mid-smile, but handed me gloves, her eyes softer than anyone else's all day. "Thanks," I muttered. Later, I'd learn her name was Maria, but right then, she was the only one who saw me as a person, and I clung to that. The back room reeked of old coffee and cardboard, boxes stacked everywhere. Everything felt rushed and forgotten. I struggled with a crate, about to drop it, when a younger guy stepped in. "Careful, man, that one's leaking." "Thanks," I grunted. "Jake," I lied, and he replied, "Tyrone." Before we could chat, the manager stormed in, eyes sharp, tone sharper, less talking, more moving. And just like that, we went silent. It wasn't just the work that was hard. It was the way everyone moved, silent and wary, like they were used to being watched but never heard. I'd done every job in this company, but I'd never felt anything like this. Lunch was a joke. People ate standing, or not at all. I leaned on a shelf, sweat running down my back. Not a word spoken to me in over an hour. Connor, the assistant manager, walked by, didn't make eye contact, just barked, "Keep moving. We're behind," then vanished. There was no music, no small talk, just the sound of tape tearing, boxes scraping. I saw Maria across the aisle, hands shaking as she folded receipts. I thought about my other store's managers who said thanks, people who laughed on the job. But here, respect wasn't just missing. It had been stripped away. The day dragged on. I kept waiting for someone to notice me, to help, to say anything. But it didn't happen. At 5, most workers clocked out. I stayed behind. Connor tossed me a spray bottle. "Restroom's a mess. Finish before you leave." "No thank you, no nothing." I cleaned while the store went dark, doors locked. That night, I sat alone in the break room, feeling something in me start to crack. Maria was still at the register when I left. "Long day?" I asked. She looked up. "Long year." We didn't say more, but it settled between us. She handed me gloves for tomorrow. I took them quietly, not sure why that meant so much. The next morning, same story, same lights, same silence, same glances that slid off me. I asked someone where the cleaning supplies were. They pointed, walked away. It wasn't just a bad shift, it was a whole culture built on silence. By noon, I'd figured out who worked, who hid, who got away with doing nothing. Connor spent most of his time in his office, only coming out to bark at someone. I watched a worker drop a box. Nobody helped. They just watched. Maria kept moving, always working, never speaking unless spoken to. Even Tyrone, who'd smiled at me before, was guarded now. I started taking mental notes. Not the kind you write down, but the kind you feel in your bones. What hit me hardest wasn't the things people said, but what they didn't say. The warehouse was hotter than hell. No fan, just dust and pallets. I was told to unload a delivery, alone, no dolly. "Figure it out," Connor said. I did, sweating, arms burning, nobody offering to help, some even laughing as I fumbled. "Careful, rookie," someone joked. Another voice, bet his hands never held a real job before. I just kept working, each comment a reminder that here, dignity was for someone else. I dropped a box in the fridge aisle, bottles rolling everywhere. Connor stormed over. "Are you blind? I've seen kids with better grip." Customers stared. I felt small, maybe that was the point. I knelt, cleaned the mess, didn't answer. Maria handed me a cloth. "Don't mind him," she said quietly. "He talks big when people are watching." Her voice wasn't pity, just habit. She'd been here before. She led by example, not title, and that stuck with me. A little later, I watched Maria help an elderly customer who was struggling at the register, her hands trembling. The cashier ignored her. Maria stepped in. "Hi there. Need help?" She scanned the item, spoke kindly, made the customer feel seen. It was the first real act of kindness I'd seen in that store, and she did it because it was right, not for credit. That's when I realized Maria didn't buy into the culture here. She pushed against it every single day. That evening, Connor called out, "Trash needs clearing." Out back. No explanation, just orders. I dragged the bins to the dumpster, sweat pouring, arms shaking. When I finished, the back door was shut. I stood there, surrounded by garbage and silence, feeling more invisible than ever. It wasn't about the hard work, it was about the way they handed it to you, like you didn't matter. And for the first time that day, I felt truly alone. Second day, same grind. Restocking paper goods and water. Asked for a dolly. "Use your hands. Builds character," Connor said. I didn't argue. Everyone walked by, eyes averted. In the stockroom, a box was mislabeled. Connor exploded, blamed Tyrone, who tried to explain, but got shut down. I knew it wasn't his fault. I almost spoke up but I swallowed it. Tyrone just looked used to it. Like taking blame was part of the job. Maria, coughing at the register, asked Connor for a day off. "We're short already, not my problem." Clock back in. She stood still, then just walked away, slower than before. She didn't want special treatment, just a day to breathe. That hurt more than any insult. I knew I needed proof. That afternoon, I set up a camera in the back, one near the office, another by the time clock. Didn't need perfect shots, just needed the truth. This was bigger than bad management now. I watched as 2 employees clocked and a buddy who wasn't there, high-fived and walked off. Not a one-time thing. Routine. No fear, nobody was watching, or so they thought. Third day, I caught Connor boasting in the break room, "Push the older stuff. Doesn't matter if it's expiring. Don't waste time on customers who can't decide. Focus on the ones with money." This wasn't laziness. It was culture taught, repeated, unchecked. The rot started at the top. And through it all, Maria kept showing up for people. An elderly woman was short on cash at the register. Store policy said no. Maria pulled a bill from her wallet, covered the difference. Didn't even write it down. Kindness, no permission needed. By the end of day 3, Tyrone passed me in the stockroom. Chances are you've seen enough by now. No smile, no wink, but a message all the same. Others saw the rot. Toothy just learned to survive it. That night, I called a team meeting, made sure everyone was there. Walked in, still wearing the uniform. Looked at every face. "Thanks for showing me who you really are," I said. Connor folded his arms. "This about the schedule?" I pulled out my real ID. "My name isn't Jake. It's Jackson Harper. I'm the CEO." You could hear the room suck in air. I looked at Connor. "You didn't just get busy. You built a culture of silence and fear." He tried to laugh it off, but then I played the video's jokes about expired goods, time card fraud, bullying. There was no spin. Just the truth, right there on the screen. Effective immediately, I said, "You're no longer with this company." Nobody argued. The silence was relief. I turned to Maria. "You've done more than your job. You showed us what real leadership is." She shook her head. "I just did what was right. But I made sure she got the title she deserved." Tyrone got an invitation to our leadership program not because he asked, but because he stood up when it mattered. Small things, but real change never starts with noise. A month later, I came back. Music played softly overhead. Staff smiled as I walked by. Maria's name tag read, "Manager." Tyrone was in the stockroom, training new hires. An elderly customer dropped a can. 2 people helped. No one laughed. The air was lighter. Not perfect, but different. I didn't need applause. I just needed to know that kindness and respect could survive, could even grow. You know, sometimes all it takes is one person seeing what others ignore, one act of real leadership. That's how culture changes. Not slogans. Not threats. Just people deciding to do the right thing, one moment at a time. And if you've ever felt invisible or spoken up when it cost you something, you already know. That's where change begins. So what do you think? Does respect really come from the top, or can it grow from the ground up? Let me know below. Share your story, your thoughts, your take on justice, and what a real team looks like. I'm listening.